Hey guys, so today I'm introducing to you something a little special, a little recent addition to our property and our community, which is this fully restored 1974 Nomad camper. If you've been following this channel, you might know that we've really aspired to ditch the American dream and really include community on our land, because we are better together. We're supposed to do this together, and we just love to share our faith and our permaculture principles of gardening all on our little piece of land, which is only a quarter acre, by the way. But in order to do that, we wanted to expand the home structure here, because we have our house and we have already a beloved roommate who lives in the extension here. Our family lives in the main area, and we share some common grounds, but we also want to really use our land to create even more living areas. So here it is. This video might be more for those who are really interested in tiny homes, tiny houses, RVs, RV rebuilds, modifications, things like that. So also, this is nothing crazy. This is something that we wanted to do on a low budget. We actually landed this camper for $1,600 in the Denver area, and we probably spent a grand total. It's hard to know for sure, but I'd say it's about anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500, maybe $1,600–1,700 on the restoration. And this thing was in pretty bad shape. It was pretty rough. It needed a lot. And then an additional $379, something like that, on this awning, this carport that we really wanted to use, but that is obviously optional. So let's get started with a little tour here. So starting from the outside, the paint job was pretty rough. It was very worn, so we wanted to repaint it. That's just key for making it look nice. So the gentleman that sold it to us offered us a little tip that if you take some Rust-Oleum enamel, so high quality paint that's going to adhere to that metal real good, you can use a foam roller, not a sponge, but foam roller that's extra smooth. You can get it at most hardware stores or Home Depot or anything like that. I got mine at Ace. And you paint it very carefully in just one direction, one motion, as much as possible. And this paint job worked really well. I'm very happy with the way that it came out. White and black I chose because it's just classic. It is timeless to me, very simple, and also it matches the house. So that's the paint. We also had, I forget what they call these, fender skirts that were busted and broken and looking pretty bad, and to replace them would have been, I think, about $325 each. So I said no way on that. So I actually just removed them altogether. And this is what I had underneath, except this was all like, more of a rough metal meets a little bit of rust color. That wasn't happening. So I basically just painted all this undercarriage area black so that it just looks really nice. So yeah, it was just a little cheat that I wanted to implement. Also painted the wheels black. So to me, that really doesn't look that half bad without the fender skirts. So glad I got away with that. On the outside also, a good friend of mine, Pete, he did a lot of wonderful things to help us out. One of the things he did was upgraded my electrical box to include just enough ampage, enough wherewithal to be able to power this thing a little bit better. I'm definitely no electrician, so I didn't touch any of that. But that was him. So now we have 30 amps running into that. I would be tempted to someday look into what it would take to make this thing solar powered, but obviously, that just was not happening right now. Also, I should mention before even painting, one of the most important things that you ever do with an RV restow project is to make sure that it is sealed from moisture issues. When I was looking into purchasing this thing, I talked to that same friend Pete, who is a handyman and contractor type, and first question he asked was, hey, are there any moisture issues, any leaking issues? And I said no, and he said, are there any moisture issues? No. Are there any moisture issues? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just gonna buy it. So I bought it, and guess what? There are lots of moisture issues, lots of leaking. A lot of times it doesn't meet the eye at first, but very often, especially with these older RVs, you're going to have leaks that are just very difficult to detect right away. So what I did was use Flex Seal, excellent product, and I flex sealed the entire top using a roller, using a paintbrush, everything that I could imagine that should be sealed. I made sure that I spread that Flex Seal product all over it. and that really helped with the leaking. There were still some leaking issues though when it rained around the windows, so I caulked, and so between caulking and flex sealing, I pretty much got everything. I'm like 98% sure. But that brings us to this awning here, or the carport structure, because having that carport structure really helps to protect the RV from the elements, obviously. So now we have double protection, as well as just a little bit more sacred of a space as we clean up this area behind here a little better. So that is the advice on the elements. Just always be careful that your RV is very well sealed. Also, as far as water is concerned, we had a couple of different options. You know, we can do the standard fill up the inner tank with water and get the water pump going. But right now, most of the guys that I speak to who would be living in here, especially a dear friend of ours, you know, would highly prefer just a continuous flow of water. You know, why not? So what we're going to do is get a heated hose. In fact, we already have it, but we need to install it from here to the water system supply line right here. It's rated for -20, so that should suffice in our area. I might do some insulating of both ends because it gets pretty darn cold here. So the water is just going to be a direct flow, essentially on city water for now. And then down by the gray water, I'll get to the black water later, but the gray water tank, I do still need to fix that up. I'm actually going to create an opening that goes into drainage piping. It's called ADS perforated piping, or maybe non-perforated, depending on how I want the flow. And the water is actually going to go ahead and flow, all the gray water. So that just, you know, that means soapy water using a natural biodegradable soap. And so all that water is going to go into our garden bed areas or our surrounding gardens, because water is precious. And, you know, we don't need the water to just drain right into the sewer. We want the water near our trees, if nothing else. So we're excited about that. When the weather warms up, we're gonna go ahead and complete that system. Also, it might be worth pointing out that they had raised this camper, which I believe Pete was saying, you know, he does not recommend for lots of off-roading, as they often do, because sometimes the axle can't take that type of pressure. But the raising of the camper works really well for us because of that aforementioned water system. The higher the starting point, the more pressure of water and the further that it can flow. So I'm glad it's raised for that reason. The water will be able to flow to more garden areas because of it. Coming around here, I'll point out that there are no longer propane tanks here. We actually took this off of propane. We could always bring that back and convert it back. Pretty much everything is running off of standard electricity for now. So the propane is disconnected. Maybe more on that later. We also wanted to paint the splash guard. This was just a really old and ratty looking fiberglass. So the easiest and cheapest way to make it look okay was just to take some spray paint. I taped these areas here of metal and just painted it. I wanted to be able to straighten this out, but to do so, I would have broken the rock guard here. So that's the rock guard. Coming across in here, here's the back, and let's take you inside. So compared to what it used to be, and I hope we have some decent before videos and before photos. I probably don't have as many as I'd like, but you'll definitely get the gist of the improvements. We installed some new flooring here. From Lowe's, we got a good deal with some just vinyl plank flooring. Starting with the dining booth area, my wife spent weeks online trying to find the correct fitting configurations for cushions, because the old cushions were pretty much done. They had to be replaced. To get these fitted and custom made would be probably $600 to $800. We were not going to do that. So she was looking around on all different sites for some especially outdoor cushions that would hold up in a situation like this. She found a pretty good configuration that might work with a little bit of hemming. She ordered them from Walmart, and then the next day she found on either Craigslist or Nextdoor these cushions right here that were just patio cushions that someone was giving away for free. So she canceled her order, and we were able to do a few things with the cushions. She hemmed a few up to make this configuration work, and the price is right, as my friend Austin would say, free 99. And you know, it could be a little bit better fitting, but really not bad for again, the price. So I was really excited about this. This is actually an optional bed. So this panel right here pulls out, and that becomes a bed option. There are actually 3 beds in this camper. Again, you know, these are the original tiny home guys. You know, people were really putting a lot of thought into maximizing space and sleeping areas. There's also an optional table that goes right here that we don't have up for now, but that table is right in here and can always be installed very easily. This is the propane heating system, which again, right now is inert. It's not hooked up to work right now, but if we ever needed to switch to propane, we can do that. But the convenience factor, even though it does cost a little more to run things off electricity, for now the convenience factor of the electricity just trumps the propane idea. We took out the old refrigerator. It was a bummer. It did not work, and that was a real bear to get out, but we got it out, and unless you could find the exact size refrigerator or retrofit it, which we really didn't feel like doing, we just decided to just embrace the big opening here. I left a little bit of the old wallpaper because, I don't know, I kind of like it. And we found a refrigerator that works in here, very convenient. And we got this for $75 off of Craigslist, lightly used. And of course, there could be like a little decorative bowl stored right there. For the kitchen, we had an old oven range that was original to this thing, but the mice had nested in the oven and they chewed through the fiberglass sort of insulation in the back of it. So it was a really sketchy idea to run it that way. We really didn't want to risk fire hazards, so we removed the oven. And, you know, I was looking for replacements, but it's really hard to find an electric oven range for an RV, which I could kind of understand because that takes a lot of electricity to run. And if I was able to find one that might fit the space, it was extremely expensive. So we decided to just forego that whole idea, and we retrofitted a cabinet because this was really awkward and open in here once we removed the oven. So I took some old plywood that we had gotten for free somewhere, built a box essentially, and I put the box in. Put a little 2x4 up there, painted it so that we can put this stainless steel panel that my wife found on eBay in order to complete the new counter space here. So we kept the old counter space. There were some moisture issues over here with some of the veneer peeling from the MDF. I really just, you know, again, low budget. I didn't feel like replacing the entire countertop and having to make custom cuts and routing things out, and I'm really not that great at all that. So I decided to just work with it the best I can and keep it. I took some good caulk, clear caulk, and ran it underneath as best as I can of the peeling areas there so that we wouldn't have moisture issues. Hopefully that holds up okay, but that will just have to do for now. We also did this entire area here, which has kind of become one of the favorite design elements of this project. This was a peel and stick metallic backsplash wallboard tile type that we found on Amazon for a decent price. It was not that easy to install, but it took 2 of us and 2 minds together to make it work. So we're very, very happy with the way that it came out. We also got the accompanying molding and trim that they also sell. It was the same brand. I will try and list these brands and different materials in the section below the video. We were able to score this thing for free, long story short, but it is a pretty decent looking convection toaster oven and also air fryer. It has like the rotisserie type of thing going on. There are more parts that we have stored in the cabinet here, and it fit really well. We're also going to put a single or double burner electric guy probably right over here that could be stored either on top of there, in there, or on the fridge. The plumbing underneath was really shot. There were leaks everywhere. It was not good. The water had been stuck in the pipes and refrozen time and time again and bursted different pipes, especially in the bathroom under the shower, as well as destroyed the water heater that is located under there. So Pete helped me replace and actually gave me an old water heater, a 2.5 gallon that should do the trick, working beautifully, as well as what he did was ran PEX piping to replace the old metal pipes, and those are working great as well. This is the bed area. So this is probably what's going to be used as the bed. This is about 6 inches open. You know, you can push this back a little bit more, but you could also pull it all the way out, and it basically creates a full-size futon-ish type of bed with a little table that the Nomads had. Very easy to operate. You just push it in, and there you go. So really nice and convenient. We are using this little heater for now, which seems to do really well. It is a Hunter oscillating tower heater, and it actually goes all the way down to 41 degrees on the automatic setting. So that's really fantastic because it doesn't have to work hard at all to keep this place from freezing. Here's a storage area that folds down into a loft bed if you want to use it that way. So it's fantastic. But for now, it's just like a storage cabinet, which I really need to vacuum out really badly. So that's one of the last things we need to do here. But it has 2 different windows there as well. So again, this place actually has 3 beds. So that's the loft bed, that's the main bed there, and this is an optional bed as well. So there's the skylight right there. It works. We did have to replace that though, but it was not too hard. We found some videos on YouTube on how to do that. All the lights are working great. We're gonna make sure that probably every bulb is replaced with LED. So in the grand scheme of things, it should be worth mentioning that there were a lot of leakage and moisture issues. What I wanted to do was first get some walls that need to come out. So this entire east wall over here had to come out. It was just warping and falling apart because of past leakage issues. I wanted to see how the insulation behind the walls was holding up, and to my surprise, the insulation was actually in great shape. Didn't have to replace it, which is fantastic. So what we did was we replaced the walls with free masonite that we had gotten. My wife had scored this also on Nextdoor or Craigslist. It was from old shipping crates, and man, we used a lot of that masonite. It was great. It happened to be the same exact thickness as the rest of the wall material. I'm not even sure what it exactly was, but it worked great. So this entire section, that section, you can kind of see where these sections are. I really don't mind the look once we painted everything white. Just brought everything together. I don't mind some imperfections. I was not going for the Ritz-Carlton. I was going for something that was, hey, like relatively cute and functional. And hopefully that's what we achieved here. We had to make a lot of cuts to some really awkward sizes. That was a little bit difficult. We also reinforced some areas, like there's a break right here. But I just basically repaired it with like a little bracket right there, and some other, I think I sistered in like a board underneath as well to just strengthen and reinforce this entire bench. Of course, as you can imagine, there were countless little repairs, but we just took them one day at a time and one repair at a time. And last but not least, with the bathroom, here it is. We didn't do too much to the shower. It's not beautiful, but it is functional. And what I'm excited about, and which I learned from my friends, Kathy and Bob down in Cortez, and we do a video about their situation down there with their Airbnb, partially off-grid and looking beautiful, is a composting toilet. So I've done a lot of research on RV toilets and composting toilets, and they are very expensive if you want to go the composting route, which we really did want to. We didn't want to deal with black water and sewage and running things to sewers or anything like that. So we really wanted to try what they had mastered, which is a build similar to this. Theirs is, of course, much better. But I used all reclaimed wood material here just to give it that kind of reclaimed look, and the price is right again. And basically this is a simple toilet system that runs off and is based around a 5-gallon bucket. So I just built this frame in this box to fit an easily removable 5-gallon bucket. And what you do is you either use a bag and line it, or you don't, but we definitely do. We're going to get composting bags that fit this really nicely, and you line it and you do your business. Whether it's number 1 or 2, it actually does not matter in this system. The other thing that you need is a carbon material, whether it is sawdust, paper shavings, some kind of wood chips, or pine shavings, any kind of wood product that is going to cover the smell and balance out the nitrogen. In this case, I scored what is called coffee chaff. So this is the chaff left over after roasting coffee beans at a local coffee shop. This is amazing stuff that we can use for compost and different things around the garden. It is so soft. We all joke about like how we just want to dig our hands in there and just constantly feel it. It is beautiful stuff here. But this works, or at least looks like it's going to work excellent for a composting toilet. And so you basically scoop it and you put it onto your deposit, you cover it well, and as long as you cover it well, you are good. That's it. That is akin to your flush. And it works beautifully. You cover the lid and you're good to go until next time. With a regular system, the kind that costs from very often from $800 to $1,600 and up, it's a similar system, except it does have a nice little PVC pipe that goes up to the ceiling with a low powered fan that's constantly running. Some people do not like the sound. Don't blame them. And if that fan runs out, it's going to stink really bad. And very often, because I've used some of these before in public spaces, they stink anyway. With this system, you will have to take the bucket out. You'll have to take out the trash and create your compost much more often. But that is okay with me. I'd rather deal with something this cheap and this convenient rather than spending thousands on an ugly PVC composting toilet that I'm probably not going to like anyway. Plus, I've already tried it out. We've used it at Kathy and Bob's Airbnb, and I was just shocked at how simple and useful and effective of a system this was. Side note, we are not going to use this kind of compost, or as they call it, human manure, on our garden. We just don't have the land for that. We're on a 1/4 acre. If we were on acreage, then we can have like a very, very long-term aging compost pile, or even just enrich land near trees and things like that. But I'm just not into using it for my garden plants for obvious reasons. But this is also an excellent option if you do have land to deal with and this is some area that you can dump your waste in. So that is our humble camper resto project here. I hope this inspired some good things. Sorry, this was not more of an instructional how-to or anything like that. We just didn't have the time to take a whole lot of video while we did this in the past several months. I do a lot of other things, so we would just work on it for an hour here, an hour there. It did take longer than we expected, but at the same time, this was not a priority for quite a while. This was more of a side project. So again, I hope this inspires you because we talk a lot about building tiny homes of different types, and I think that is amazing. But at the same time, perhaps this can help you consider the possibility of using a camper or an RV or something that has already been built with a lot of these functions in mind. This might be a good option for you. So thanks for joining us, and until next time.